Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of ZB's Horsepower Talk. As always, I'm ZB Zack Brown. Got another episode of Crew Chief Corner with Jeff Brown. Going to give a preview of all the weekend racing coming up with Outlaws, All-Stars, IndyCar, and NASCAR. But as always, this week's Crew Chief Corner is brought to you by Lickety Lou's all-purpose booyah sauce. Go check them out at licketyloos.com. Get ready for Memorial Day weekend grilling and get the right sauce for what you need. Original, spicy, and yellow. Again, licketyloos.com. Order you some. Get it in just in time for Memorial Day. Let's welcome in my dad, Jeff Brown, to another week of Crew Chief Corner. All right, Dad, welcome another week for Crew Chief Corner. Big week ahead of us. Outlaws invade PA Posse this week. Our roots right there. So a lot of stuff with dirt racing. We'll dive into IndyCar and NASCAR at the end. We're going to start off with All-Stars. All-Stars kick it off this week at Jacksonville Speedway. So what do you know about this track going in?
Jacksonville Speedway. It's Jacksonville, Illinois, not Jacksonville, Florida. In case anybody's wondering, it's a high bank quarter mile track, no real straightaways. You sort of turn the whole way around the track. It is a racy little track. I mean, it gets a curb way up high, like up against the wall, but really tight on the bottom can work if you get it set right. Lap traffic is going to be an issue. Track's small, lap traffic's definitely going to be an issue to get through. It's a good track for a guy that's not afraid to be a little bit ballsy around the top, but also needs to be nice and smooth when you got to try to pass cars on the bottom.
Is it a track that will definitely slicken up over the course of the night, kind of like all the other tracks we've been seeing through the year, and be like a dusty track, or just more of a just slick, just not too much dust to worry about?
It isn't a dusty track like you see at Eldora I'm going to say on a normal night. All the cars that run, it's going to get a little bit slick, which is where you'll get the bottom and the cushion around the top. It gets a nice little curve built up around the wall. It's Illinois clay is a little bit different than you get from Ohio for sure. It didn't seem, just from watching on video, it didn't seem like it got all that dusty.
What do you think the key is to have success at this race this week at that track?
Getting through lap traffic.
That seems to be the story of the year.
Yeah.
And that could definitely play a big factor. And how big is this track?
Quarter mile.
Okay, so it's definitely...
So it's a tiny... You're probably talking, 9-10 second lap times when the track's fast. So it's like I said, there's no real straightaway. You're sort of turning, you come out of the corner and you're pretty much going into the next corner. It's kind of a neat little, almost like a round track.
As small as this track is, what kind of like gear setups and tire pressure setups and everything do you need with that?
You're going to run a pretty low gear on the thing, which can present some challenges on the sprint car. You gear them so low, it can be hard to keep the front end on the ground. They just have so much torque and so much power. And the way that curb gets, you might want to keep the air pressures up in the right rear a little bit, maybe keep the right rear sticking out a little bit, because you hit that curb wrong, you can easily make the car super tight or roll up, bicycle, and things like that.
Well, let's go ahead with it and get into our picks for this little racetrack at Jacksonville. Who do you think in the All-Stars will have good success here?
Well, it was tough with the All-Stars. Some of the guys that might have been a pretty good pick either haven't been running full times with the All-Stars, or they recently split with their team. I think I'm going to go with a guy who's pretty smooth on the bottom. It looked like he was fast there before. I'm going to go with Hunter Schoenberg. 100%.
Well, I'm gonna keep it safe, and a driver I've been picking out throughout the year. Another one. He's going to break through one sooner or later. I think this is a good track for him to do it because there's less competition with high limit series not being there this week. Everybody's focusing on going up to PA for the Outlaws. There's a lot of them, so it'll take a lot of the competition out, like Brent Marks and stuff like that. Macri will be up there for the Outlaws. So another one, I think Tyler Courtney will get it done at Jacksonville.
Yeah, it's funny. One of the, I don't remember if it was Jacksonville. I was looking on their webpage, or it was Wilmot, but they actually had Brent Marks as the picture of their race car. I'm like,
I don't think he's racing there.
I don't think he's going to be there.
No, he's going to be racing the Outlaw show where the big money's going to be. Moving on to Wilmot Raceway the next day for All-Stars. What's this track like, and how is it different from Jacksonville from the day before?
This one's just a little bit bigger. It's a 3rd mile. They call it a semi-bank dirt oval, which semi-bank means it's pretty much flat. It's in Wilmot, Wisconsin. The dirt there is completely different than it is in Illinois. It looks more like Ohio dirt. It's a darker dirt, but it looks like it gets very dusty. It's for just being just a little bit bigger. It looks like it's on video. It looks like it's a much bigger track. This one, I think, to pass cars, you're going to have to be good on the bottom. There's could be a little bit of a top early on, and it seems like as the race goes on, the bottom becomes faster. And same deal, small track, lap cars. That's how you can get through them is the deal.
Well, kind of talk about it, and you've probably touched on it throughout this year, but how All-Stars a little bit different how they set up their when you redraw and get set up for the feature, and how everything results from time trials to heats. So explain a little bit on that and how that can play a big factor in these type of tracks.
Yeah, the All-Stars, if you are the depends on how many cars, how many they'll invert for the heat race. So if you're the fastest qualifier in your heat, you'll generally probably start 4th. And if you qualify, if it's 4 or 5 cars qualify, you make the dash. And then the winner of the heat race will also make the dash. Now, if you are the fastest qualifier and the winner of the heat, only your car goes in the dash. So there would be one less car in the dash. So that's where it's a little bit different. And qualifying's a little bit different. They'll separate them into groups. Like the first 10 cars they'll qualify against each other, and they'll be in heat race 1, and the next 10 qualify against each other and it'll be heat race 2. It's not a bad format. It keeps it fair. The track's going to be a lot closer for those 10 cars than would be from first to 40th car.
What I was just looking up, kind of funny. We were talking about it. We're like, hey, Brent's probably not going to be there. I mean, there's a chance because he is the points leader right now.
I did see that. I saw he was point leader. That was,
I don't think he was racing for a championship, but he could easily look at it and be like, hey, I've got a chance to win the All-Star Championship. So, yeah. I mean, there's a chance he could probably miss a couple races and be able to make up for it anyways. All right, well, let's, I guess, eliminate Brent Marks for now until we're proven otherwise that he's not there for this track. What are we looking at? Who are you looking at?
When I was watching the video, one car stood out how good he was getting around, and that is Tyler Courtney.
I'm not going to double up. Probably should be the safe way to go, but I'm going to go a little bit different, and nobody really talked about him, but he's been consistent enough to be in the top 5 in points right now, is Cap Henry. All right.
He's a good racer.
Yeah, well, he's very consistent, and not sure if he can get it done officially, but he will. I think you'll see a good solid finish. He's able to keep it out of off the wall, out of harm's way, off from getting through lap traffic enough, not get caught up in all that, and that's key to having consistent races and everything. All right, so kind of getting into your bread and butter, and I mean, I was just up there a couple weeks ago. We've got Outlaws invading Pennsylvania to take on the Posse. This is one of the biggest rivalries, I think, in the country, because the Posse is one of the biggest local dirt racing in the country. There's a high Posse, but it doesn't compare to anything like in Pennsylvania. Outlaws, they desperately want to get this win. They want to come there. They want to dominate the Posse because they want to have bragging rights. See it every single year. It's going to be a lot of fun. Fans are going to show up, and there's going to be a lot of alcoholic beverages pounded during these races. So they go to Lincoln Speedway middle of the week, and they recently restarted there for a while. They got whipped a long time ago, I think in the 90s or early 2000s. Left it a little while, and they came back to it, and they're risking for to get shown up there, and that they have been a lot with the local guys at Lincoln. So talk to us a little bit about Lincoln Speedway. You raced there a lot with Eric Stamball and Johnny Mackison as well, and you raced 358s there with Eric and the 410s there. So you got a little bit of everything at Lincoln. So tell us a little bit about that track.
Lincoln's a nice little track. They call it I believe they call it a 3/8 mile now. At one point they were calling it a half mile, but it's definitely not that big. It's more of a, I would call Lincoln a semi-banked. It does have bank to it. It's more of a traditional oval. It's got straightaways, in the nice sweeping corners. Nice surface, good clay. It generally doesn't build a real heavy cushion. It might, sometimes early in the night, run the top gets good, and then it usually gets a little better on the bottom. To win the race, you're going to have to be good. You're going to have to run both top and bottom to get through to pass cars, get through traffic. It's a racy track. It could be. They usually put on really good shows there, and yeah, for sure, the Outlaws definitely are gunning for it. But coincidentally, we won't get to it yet. But my pick is not an Outlaw for the Lincoln.
Same.
It's also not Posse.
Oh, okay. I think I know who you're picking. I'm going to put the link in the from the race with Eric having an awesome race from your YouTube channel, and I'll put it up in the description. Everybody can check it out. Get a little bit of idea. Lincoln hasn't really changed throughout the years. They've added some cosmetic work on the outside and all that stuff. But put that down there if you want to see a really good show. One thing you've always we're always good at is like seeing where this track is, how it's heading, and where the fastest lines are going to be during time trials and stuff. One thing I remember you doing for Eric's race is everybody was running the outside for time trials, and you're like, somebody needs to go down low to get a better time, and he had one of the fastest times of the night. So I'm guessing that plays a big factor in going to, especially the Outlaws coming to town.
It can. Back then it was a little different, where it was the whole group of cars were qualifying against each other, and we drew almost dead last. It was, and we had a really good setup early for a heat race where we probably won most heat races throughout the year. So we were going to be good early for time trials, and then we were watching the track, and it kept getting slicker and slicker, and the top kept moving up. And I was like, you know what? There's nobody running the bottom, and I almost basically went to a feature setup. I put some more wing in the thing, took the stagger out, pulled the right rear in it, and I told him, I said, you can run one lap on the top, but give me one on the bottom. And it came out, and this was against the All-Stars at the time, and like I said, I think we ended up fourth quick, and we were by far the fastest car in the last 15 or 20 cars, because everybody else was trying to run the top, and the ones that tried to run the bottom weren't set up for it, and they just sat there and spun. So you definitely got to watch what's going on, and you got to make adjustments accordingly.
Well, there you go, guys. If you got need advice for that, you're welcome. All right. Well, you're gonna know it better than anybody. Who is your pick for Lincoln?
He won the Outlaw race earlier this year. I'd say he's a true outlaw. Rico Abreu. I think he gets it done again. That track suits his driving style.
I think a lot of tracks suit his driving style. He's on a different level this year, and I've said it throughout the week, at least throughout the week I've said it, if not the year. He's been very solid, and I'm very impressed. And good for Rico. He's a good guy, very humble guy, and races as clean as you can get. Oh, you're gonna get a little. I mean, you have to get a little bit dirty if you want to win some races, but I mean, it's very respected racer out there. I'm not picking him. I am picking a Posse guy though for this one, and it's one that it's his best track by far. He's won multiple championships there. His dad was a legend at this track and a lot of tracks. But I think you know who I'm going with
Yeah,
here, Freddie Rammer.
that's a good pick. He definitely gets around Lincoln.
Well, we're going to a completely different dirt track. We've touched on it many times before. It's, I think it's my favorite racetrack. Between that, Port and Lincoln, they're all up there, obviously, for, good reason. I'm kind of a homebody there. But Williams Grove is one of the most famous dirt tracks in the entire world. I'm going to say that, and I said that about Eldora too. But this one's definitely up there. Outlaws really, really want to get around here and get the wins. And I've touched on with when I had Lance on a couple months ago how Steve Kinzer is the top 5 all-time win list at Williams Grove, and he's an outlaw. He doesn't race there every week. That's insane. And Donnie Schatz, he's slowly working up the ladder of getting the all-time win list at Williams Grove too. That just shows how good he is there. I think we've done it briefly before, but let's talk a little bit about Williams Grove and how it can be different from Friday and Saturday.
Well, Williams Grove, if people don't know Williams Grove, think of a paperclip, and that's exactly what you got. It has got super long straightaways, very tight corners. It is a track you just do not, in general, you do not come right in the Williams Grove and go fast right off the bat. It races like no other place in the country. Nothing else is shaped like it. You'll see a lot of people, they'll look at the times. It's a big half mile, so, the track record is in the low 16 seconds, which is flying for Williams Grove. But they see that compared to like Eldora, and they're in the 12-second bracket. Eldora will fit on the inside of Williams Grove. It is that big of a track. And the tight corners and the straightaways, it's just so difficult. And those cars are absolutely flying at the end of the straightaway. It is really a tough track to get around, because to go down the straightaways fast, you don't want to run much stagger. To get through the corner, you have to have the stagger. So you have to figure out, what are you going to give up? You going to give up the straightaway speed to get through the corners, or can you figure out how to get through the corners with the little stagger and keep your straightaway speed?
The key to outlaw shows definitely are where you time trial.
Yeah.
And a lot of it has to do with luck too, and where you draw, and when you go out for your time trials, whether you go early, middle, or towards the end. Where usually in general do you want to go out for time trials?
Usually in Williams Grove. Let's assume there hasn't been any rain and it's just a regular night. You're going to want to be, you don't want to be the first couple cars out. The track could still be a little bit slimy, but if you're the 8th on back car out to probably about 15 or 20 cars, the track's going to be pretty good. After that, it will probably start the slicking off, and the groove moves up. Every car, the groove moves up a little bit, because in time trials, you're pretty much just going to run it on the cushion wide open. So each car is going to push it up just a little bit more, and it gets a little bit farther around. But early. But there's where the Outlaws do split the groups into Group A and Group B. So you're only qualifying, the first 20 couple cars are in Group A. So it's not as big of a disadvantage, other than whoever you get an overall fastest time, which gets you, I think, $300 from Crystal Nace. But there's no real advantage of having the overall quick time.
Well, what you touched on it. What do you need to do differently, especially this year? You've seen a couple races on the new tires, and the crews have gotten used to them now. What do you need to do throughout the entire day to set up for the best, have the best results to going into the feature as the track changes the entire night?
Well, you got to keep track of where the groove's going to be. Williams Grove, it can get to where if the cushion only goes up about 3/4 of the way around the track, that's going to be the fast way around. It's going to be really hard to pass people. Williams Grove needs to widen out to where the cushion's up, just a couple feet off the wall. That'll open up the bottom and get you good, because it's tough to get off the bottom and get a run down the straightaways when those guys hold the momentum going wide open around the top. So you need to make it to where it's far enough out there that the shorter way around is as fast, if not faster.
What is usually the biggest difference? Not if Mother Nature doesn't really play any factor and it's nice both nights and overnight. What difference is the track going to be on Saturday as compared to Friday?
It's generally much slicker right off the bat on the second night. If I had to guess, I'd say you're probably going to see time trials in mid 16 seconds on Friday night. They could easily be mid 17 seconds on Saturday, just without changing. They don't seem like they really, and it's a lot. It's a big track to work up. I don't think they really dig it down too far and get a whole lot of water in it. So I think it's definitely going to be a lot slicker on the second night to start off the bat. So I think getting an early time trial draw second night is probably much more important than the first night.
Well, it's that time for our picks. Friday night first, and I don't think he's racing down there on Friday night, so it wouldn't surprise me if he makes the trip up there. If Larson is racing a couple races in the Outlaws, wouldn't surprise me, because it's everything's East Coast, and he can easily get up there.
It won't be that far.
No, I'm not sure. I haven't seen the entry list for the Outlaws, but he's not on my pick or anything. So, first night, Friday night, who are we looking at? Outlaws, Posse, or neutral person?
We're going to go with Posse on the first night. We're going to take Lance DeWeese.
My first
will win 113, 114 at Williams Grove, something like that.
Yeah, and counting. Nobody's touched 100 there. So besides him, I'm not going Posse first night. Going to go Outlaws, and I did mention him earlier, and he's working his way up the Williams Grove all-time winless ladder as just an outlaw. I think you could see him make good runs if and decent time trial run goes his way too. I think you see Donnie Schatz contend for the win on Friday night. Going into Saturday,
he's been getting a little faster. The track is starting to dry out a little bit. That's right into coming. His wheel. Schatz is getting a little older. He's liking them slick tracks a little more now.
Yeah, it's coming. It's going to come. The win, the big win's going to come this year. He was very close to Eldora. Yeah. I thought he was actually going to get Rico on.
I thought he had. Yeah, I definitely did.
He was flying, and Rico did a great job to hold him off. Saturday night, Outlaws, Posse again, or neutral? Who are you going with?
I think the Outlaws are going to take home the Morgan Cup this year. Schatz was on my short list for Saturday night. I think you're going to see David Gravel pull it out on the second night. I was torn between Gravel, Schatz, Lance, and Macri. I think I'm going to give the edge the second night to Gravel. Just the Outlaws are not going to want Posse to win 2 nights in a row.
No, and that's why I picked Outlaws first. And the driver that's defending big winner at Williams Grove is none other than Lance DeWeese. And slower track, if he hits the right time trial, draws the right time trial place, and track will be pretty slick. And I think you can see a bottom work in, especially 3 and 4. And I don't think anybody goes to 3 and 4 like him. It's because that, if anybody doesn't know, 3 and 4 is completely different than 1 and 2. And if you can get through 3 and 4, and that's where you can make up a lot of ground, and that's where Lance seems to do on a lot of these races. I'm going to pick him. Lance, I'm sorry if I jinx you, but I think He's improved a lot. He made the show at Eldora. They kept working on it. I think the first night, he might be one of those where he feels it out, might have a decent finish, but I think he'll get rolling that second night. He knows how special the Morgan Cup is at Williams Grove, and I think that'll be another one for his Hall of Fame resume at Williams Grove Speedway.
Yeah, for anyone that's gone there and watching or watching on TV, one thing just to watch out between the Pennsylvania cars, especially Lance, and then the Outlaw cars, you're going to see Lance going down the straightaway with the right front wheel 2 feet off the ground going down the straightaway. The Outlaw cars, you don't see them do that so much. It's just a difference in the way Lance likes to feel that car and going down the straightaway. It's really, especially when you have early in the feature and a full load of fuel back there, that right front, there's no weight on that thing at all. It's going to be 2 feet off the ground. You're wondering how in the world are you going to get through the corner like that.
And Macri too.
Yeah, Macri. It seems to be the Pennsylvania cars will pull that right front, where the Outlaw cars, you might see the right front bounce a little off the track, but they're definitely not up in the air like the Pennsylvania cars. That's something for people to watch out for. It's just the different setups on and how they drive the cars.
All right. Well, there you go, folks. There's the dirt racing portion of Crew Chief Corner this week. Heading back to asphalt, we're doing rights and left turns with IndyCars again. IndyCar is spending the month of May at Indianapolis. Starting off the Indianapolis Road Course. I think it's called the Indianapolis Grand Prix or something like that. I don't know who sponsors it, but talk to us about just the Indianapolis Road Course. We'll get into the actual Brickyard race when it gets to it. I mean, technically there's a Brickyard there, but it's not the same. What's this road course? How is it set up? And I know they change it up a little bit for IndyCars versus when NASCAR goes there as well for different turns.
The Indy Road Course, they listed as 15 turns, 2.589 miles. And like most road courses, they run clockwise as opposed to the counterclockwise on an oval. It's strange seeing the cars going down the front stretch at Indy the wrong way. It's kind of odd. I don't have any problem with the Indy Road Course. They built that to bring in Formula One, and the Formula One guys did not like the road course. They said it was too easy. So they wanted to run IndyCars on it. I'm old-fashioned. I like when the whole month of May was all about the 500. It was, practice was on. You could catch practice on TV every day. They were practicing time trial and testing, and that was fun. So this is just, I don't know. I think this is just kind of a filler because they don't want to do all that stuff that like they used to do anymore. I guess they just don't get the people for it. You're not going to see a crowd for this road course that you're going to see for the 500. That's for sure.
Well, if they built the road course, they want to have an excuse to run it because whoever helped design it, they don't want to get fired. They want to have a reason for that to be used. I kind of like it. I at least like it them being at that track the entire month. I think you could have double headers there with NASCAR, and NASCAR can finally race there twice a year and go back to the oval, and they can do their Grand Prix or whatever as well. Double header on the same day. IndyCars at noon, and then you can move over to the Cup race right after it and race a road course race if they're just hell bent on having a road course race at Indy for NASCAR.
Yeah.
I think it's it's neat. It's different. It's I get where you're coming from with the entire month being focused on the Indy 500, but I don't think it really takes anything away from the actual Indy 500 because these guys know, like, hey, it's still completely different. It's still this iconic race that means way more than just winning a road course race there. And I don't really think they should be qualified to kiss the bricks at a road course either. So I don't know.
I agree.
I think it's different. It's like if you're going to have them drink the gallon of milk too when they win as well. Like but when they're setting up for this road course, is there anything they can use to get ready for the Indy 500 at all? Is there anything, maybe just tire wear at all or anything? I mean, I know they go backwards on the turn, so I guess really isn't anything.
Now everything's gonna be. I mean, it's gonna be a completely different car. These, the road course. You're going to see they have the full downforce wings. With the everything's dialed in for high downforce. You're just not going that fast. You get to the 500, the wing basically looks like it's flat. They're running 230 miles an hour down to the corner. It's just it's night and day. I mean, might as well be running on the quarter midget or quarter mile midget track, and they're on dirt. Just as comparable. It's just nothing you can compare. Get you ready for going, for Indy, the speeds that they go on that track.
You think the drivers, if anybody has a good race at the road course, will have any confidence to go into the Indy 500 that just based on, hey, I did well here, it's still the same track, I can do well at the Indy 500?
I think anytime you win a race, your confidence builds. The crew's confidence builds. It's like hey, we can do this. There's no reason we can't do it on the big track. So it can't, definitely for sure can't hurt.
Well, let's just one question I did have, and I wanted to ask it last week, and I forgot about it, almost forgot about it this week. For those who don't really know, they mentioned in the broadcast a couple weeks ago about, hey, this guy's got 30 seconds left of push to passes left. What does that mean?
It's that's a good question. I don't know all the details of it. I can't remember if it's. I think it gains, and I don't have the exact numbers on me. It'll allow the engines to rev up another. At one time, I think it was 500 RPMs. I think that's changed since then. They've had it for a while. They had it in different configurations. I don't believe it. Basically gives the cars more power, but they only let you allow to run it for short bursts throughout the race. So then it gives a strategy thing where, do you use it all early trying to get through the track, or you save it for the end, and when you need it, you're running second, and you have a little bit of push to pass left, and the guy leading doesn't. Can you get an extra couple mile an hour going into the straightaway and beat them into the corner?
All right, Indy pick for the Indy Grand Prix for the road course. Who are you going with on this one?
I'm going to say the same pick as I had for last race. He was running good, so I think he's got a shot again. Pato O'Ward.
I'm going to brutalize this guy's name. I can't pronounce anybody's name, except the very obvious ones that I know. But he's been very fast on road courses and the street courses as well. And I'm going to give him a nickname because it looks like it would fit. I'm going to give it to the old denim, Romain Grosjean. Says Gene. I know I'm lame. That was a bad one, but yeah, and I don't even think I pronounced his name right. They gave me a pronunciation here, and I don't think that's my language. But he's a Swiss French driver. He's been very fast on these road courses. Look at him battling out, trying to get the win at Indy for the road course. But let's get to it where I can pronounce people's names, because most of them are American and are hillbilly rednecks in some of them. So let's get down to the redneck area of Darlington, South Carolina. The Lady in Black, the track that is too tough to tame. First of all, talk to us about what is unique about this track and how was it built?
Well, what's unique about the track, if you look at it, it's shaped like an egg. They built the track, and there was a large, I don't know if they call it a pond or a lake, but when they were building it, they're like, well, we can't, make a conventional oval because of the lake to be in there. So they shortened two of the turns, made a sort of a egg shape, which makes the track completely unique. You got, one corner with a wide sweeping turn. Next corner is much tighter. Let's see, banking in turns 1 and 2 is 25 degrees. Turns 3 and 4 is 23 degrees. Straightaways are pretty much flat, so there's a large transition between the straightaways going in there. And it was NASCAR's first super speedway, built in 1950.
And For those who don't know, your dad and my grandpa had a driver race there in NASCAR. And actually, I think he raced actually a couple times there, but I know his best finish, he got eighth, if I'm not mistaken, back in
Eighth or ninth, yeah.
I think that was in '57. So, and actually, yeah, I'm doing a throwback scheme for that in my iRacing this week. So that'll be that'll be uh, interesting. See how it goes. But big thing about Darlington is that it eats the tires.
Yeah.
And that is, I mean, when I say eats the tires, like, I mean, you'll significantly drop your lap times after lap 2. I mean, and that's what the drivers love, and they love the tire fall off on these. The last time it was repaved was in 2008, and they don't want to touch it. The driver said, no, just let it go. And for once, NASCAR's listening, the track's listening, and it's put on amazing races. So, how is this strategy going to play out? This is a 400-mile race, so I'm glad they actually go twice a year. I think Darlington's one of the best tracks on the circuit. A 400 race compared to a 500-mile race, how do you attack that, and how do you go about with the tire situation? Definitely seeing how the tires were at Kansas as well this past week.
Yeah, as much wear as they had at Kansas, this is going to be twice as much this week. I mean, they run 2 laps to get a caution. They are coming in for tires. It's going to be crazy. You gotta, at some point you're going to have to manage your tires. You got to make sure you have tires for the end of the race. 400 miles it would be tough to do 500 miles on that track. It is so difficult.
Oh, you mean like they do in the fall?
That's true. Yeah, you're right. They do 500, and it definitely hard. That last 100 miles definitely takes a toll on equipment. Drivers are getting tired, because when those tires wear out, the groove keeps moving up, and at the end of the run they will be on the wall. And you'll hear about the Darlington stripe. They're all, if you're going to be fast, you're going to have that, because you better be going in an inch from the safer barrier and the whole way around. It's test of man and machine at Darlington, that's for sure.
Well, the thing with there's all 3 series are racing there this weekend. Each one obviously is completely different, and I've heard them talk. The closest ones are trucks to the Cup cars. For whatever reason, they race a lot more similar than what Xfinity transitioned to Cup was. That's not how it used to be. But since NASCAR went to the next generation car that they have right now for the Cup Series, it's a lot smoother transition from what I understand with the trucks. And that shout out to the guys on Door Bumper Clear who talked about that as well a couple weeks ago.
That's interesting.
So all 3 of these cars are different though, trucks. When people get into the Darlington stripe, get into the wall, how's that damage specifically going to affect the cars differently when you go from whether it's the trucks, it's the Xfinity, or the Cups, and how does that hold up when you actually hit the wall like that?
Well, for one thing, in the trucks, I'm pretty sure they're still running sheet metal bodies. So you get in the wall, you get it, and you get it banged up, it's going to stay there. Xfinity cars are a carbon fiber body. And I think Cup cars, to some extent, are some, like that. They get into the car, they kind of pop back out. Depending on how hard you hit it, it definitely keeps the aerodynamics good. But the trucks, you're going to see some guys starting to tear off the rear bumpers, rear wings. You hit that thing, get that thing in there too hard. So that's definitely probably the biggest difference between it's just how they're built and how they hold up under light contact, we'll call it.
Which cars will probably hold up the best? I'm guessing the Cup cars.
Yeah, or like I say, the Xfinity has that whole carbon fiber body, and that thing's been proven that they hit the wall pretty good on tracks, and it really does no apparent visual damage to the car. Whether it might happen to suspension underneath is a different story, but the body itself, it seems like it springs right back to shape and keeps on going.
We saw it last year. I believe it was the Southern 500 was where Harvick had the significant fire issue that NASCAR had. I believe is because it was a buildup of rubber from the
Yeah.
track and all the tires wearing out. Do you think NASCAR's fixed it? I haven't seen an issue yet, knock on wood. Or is this going to be pretty much the first test as much rubber is going to be laid down at this track?
Yeah, I think this is going to be the first test. I hope they did something because that rubber was getting hot,
It was
and
scary.
then they have foam, you know, in the driver's cockpit, that, you know, for impact, and it was the foam was starting to catch on fires actually, and it started burning everything. Yeah, if they don't fix that, they really have an issue. So hopefully they came up with some kind of a solution. I never heard them talk anymore about it, which is kind of weird. That they said, hey, yeah, we have to change the cars to do this or that, or, you know, encase the foam in something else, or so we're going to see. That's, you know, if they don't do it at Darlington, they're probably going to be. They definitely made some kind of change, because for sure somebody's going to have some kind of an issue, just
Well,
like that.
I'm sure Larry McGround's going to touch on that in his little cutscene garage green screen thing that he has back in his studio. So this is throwback weekend. I'm wearing my throwback hat to Dale Jr. As a throwback as I've got. So it's still throwback, so it still counts. We're I like the throwback weekend, but, and I got to agree with some people that have mentioned it before. Probably don't need a race on Mother's Day weekend. Why are they racing on Mother's Day weekend and then you're off on Father's Day weekend? Who's going to go to the races more? The fathers.
Yeah, it
This
used
would
to be
be
the
a
other way. It used to be the other way around. They always had a race on Father's Day. I don't.
Yeah, this could this and I think it was like Michigan was for a while for whatever reason was it
Yeah,
not. I think this would
Michigan
be a,
was in Pocono.
and I think this should be one of their off weekends. And I've said this, and a lot of crews have said they need to have more off weekends. Chris Lambert a couple weeks ago on the show said, "Hey, there's some times we need to have some off weekends." He's like, yeah, it's easier for like spotters and stuff because they can fly back and they don't have to go instantly out back to the track, and they can spend some time with the family. But it's a lot tougher for these other crew guys, especially the truck drivers too. I mean, they've got to
Yeah.
have the big rig drivers, not the truck series drivers, but the big rig drivers. They need some time off too. I think this will be a perfect opportunity for them to go to Father's Day weekend and have Mother's Day weekend off. That way, you have a weekend off right before the All Star race, and it works out perfectly. But there's my little rant for this one. But
I agree with you on that one.
I think it'd be smart. I mean,
Yeah,
um,
I don't think they need to race Easter, and I don't think they need to race Mother's Day.
yeah, and I think you need a week off before the playoffs actually start as well.
But at Darlington, you know, like Easter, they didn't have much of a crowd. Darlington is going
It's
to
going
be
to be packed.
packed. Yeah,
It's going
it's
to be
definitely going
packed,
to be
and
packed.
if it's hot this weekend, I feel very sorry for the people going on the backstretch because I was there and they haven't upgraded those seats since 1950 something when it came out. And it's literally the hottest metal seats ever. So if you go there, bring a blanket or something to sit on because my dummy self did not have one to sit on, and my butt was sore by the end of the day. So make sure you have that. Great seats on the backstretch though. You can see them going to 3 and 4. That's about as perfect as you can get. All right, enough of ranting and rambling on and everything. Let's get to the where everybody wants to see. 3 series, trucks, Xfinity, and Cup Series. Triple header at Darlington. The Lady in Black, too tough to tame. Who's going to be able to tame it this weekend? Starting off with the Truck Series.
I have a theme going for my NASCAR picks. I'm going with veteran drivers on this one. I think uh, managing tires is going to be key to winning this weekend. For the trucks, I'm picking Matt Crafton.
I'm picking, I guess, sort of a veteran. Not the most veteran. I picked Matt before, and it hasn't panned out. Sorry, Matt. I'm not doing it again. And yeah, it's going to be about conserving tires, and I think it's also going to come down to the Truck Series. They're going to run out tires. I promise they're going to run out of tires. They're going to get to about lap 5 and wreck, and it's just that they've been wrecking a lot. And I said it last time. Like I didn't expect the Cup Series to wreck this much, and but the trucks, they're younger drivers. They're trying to prove themselves. There's going to be just going to be a lot of cautions. That's going to be how it is. And if it's not, awesome, but I will be shocked if it's not a lot of cautions. But I think when it comes to the end of it, very likelihood of a green white checkered, somebody that can again balls it in, especially 3 and 4, and maybe get it to stick. Maybe you get a little Darlington stripe when you're pulling up in front of somebody at it. And I don't think he even has a win yet at all. Matt DiBenedetto.
Okay.
Yeah, didn't expect that one, did you?
Nope, I absolutely would not have put that one on there.
All right, Xfinity. You said your theme is veteran drivers. Who's this one?
Guy's been fast all year. Just hasn't been quite there at the end. A lot of these younger guys kind of been outrunning a little bit. I think you're going to see them wear their stuff out, and he's going to sneak right in there. Justin Allgaier.
I'm not picking any more junior stuff. Xfinity. I have a similar. For those first two, I guess. So people you don't expect. I think this one. It's one of the Smiths, but not Chandler Smith. I'm going with the 18. Joe Gibbs Racing. Sammy Smith. Toyota's been really fast.
Yeah, he's been fast this year for sure.
All right, final one. Cup Series. This is the big one. The Goodyear 400, the throwback race. Who you got for this one?
Yeah, his final Darlington throwback race. I'm going to go with Kevin Harvick. Mr. Where did he come from? And just for the record, Mom's pick is Chase Elliott.
All right. Well, I think this could be a rematch of Kansas. And I think there could be somebody that was on the losing end of it on the final lap, and I think it'd be a very similar finish this time. I'm sorry if I jinx you. Kyle Larson over Denny Hamlin. I think that's the first two actually in this one. I was actually picking Denny as well. I think this will be a very good opportunity for this as a rematch for that race.
One thing I want to put out just real quick before we sign off, just found out tonight, condolences to the Williamson family. Sharon Williamson just passed away. If you don't know, she was the wife of Kramer Williamson, longtime Pennsylvania sprint car driver who passed away at Lincoln Speedway a few years ago. So condolences to her family and their kids, Curtis and Felicia. It's sad news to hear from them. They were some of the nicest people, and I got to work with Kramer and knew Sharon for a long time.
Definitely thoughts and prayers to them, the family, and everybody up there. Well, Dad, let's I guess wrap this up. We got our picks in. I think it's going to be an exciting week. And I think it's almost like a throwback week for everything. You've got all the dirt tracks we always went to, and you've got Darlington throwback week. I think it'll be a lot of fun. So if everybody liked this, go ahead and comment for any questions you got down below. Like, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow on all social media platforms and anywhere you get your podcast. Dad, I'll see you next week as somebody's tapping me on the shoulder, and he's ready to talk to you here in a second. So,
okay.
See you.
Yeah, looking forward to my little buddy back there.
Yep. All right. See you, Dad.
Bye, everybody.